Did you know one of America's most disturbing serial killers began murdering at just 15 years old? And his first victims were his own grandparents. Even more terrifying, doctors later declared him cured, erased his record, and released him back into society, where he would go on to kill again. This is the chilling true story of Edmund Kemper, the coed killer. Edmund Oneal Kemper III was born in 1948 in California. From an early age, his childhood was defined by instability, emotional abuse, and a deeply toxic relationship with his mother. By his own later admissions, he developed violent fantasies while still a child, fantasies that grew darker as the years passed. At just 15 years old, Edmund was sent to live with his grandparents in rural California. In 1964, after an argument with his grandmother, Edmund retrieved a rifle and shot her in the kitchen. Unsatisfied that she was dead, he stabbed her repeatedly. When his grandfather arrived home later that day, Edmund shot him as well. After murdering both grandparents, Edmund calmly called his mother and confessed. Shockingly, she told him to contact the police. He did exactly that and was arrested without resistance. Rather than being sent to prison, Edmund was placed in a Atascadero State Hospital, a psychiatric facility for the criminally insane. Doctors quickly noticed his unusually high intelligence, later estimated to be at genius level. While confined, Edmund learned how the system worked. He memorized psychological evaluations, learned which answers doctors wanted to hear, and slowly convinced staff he was rehabilitated. After 6 years, against the warnings of some professionals, Edmund Kemper was released. His juvenile murder record was eventually expunged. On paper, it was as if the killings had never happened. He moved back in with his mother in Santa Cruz, California, the very person he blamed for much of his emotional pain. Their relationship was volatile. She belittled him constantly, mocked his appearance, and told him no woman would ever love him. Outwardly, Edmund tried to appear normal. He attended college classes, held jobs, and even socialized with local police officers who had no idea they were speaking with a future serial killer. In 1972, everything changed. Edmund began picking up young female hitchhikers along California highways. To them, he appeared non-threatening, polite, intelligent, and soft-spoken. But once he drove them to isolated locations, the truth emerged. He handcuffed, stabbed, strangled, or shot his victims. Afterward, he brought their bodies back to his apartment, where he committed acts too disturbing to describe in detail. He dumped remains in nearby mountains and remote areas, confident he would not be caught. As his crimes escalated, so did their brutality. In one horrifying instance, he murdered another hitchhiker and buried her severed head in his mother's garden, an act that symbolized both his hatred toward women and his resentment toward his mother. By April of 1973, Edmund reached a breaking point. While his mother slept, he bludgeoned her to death with a hammer. He then decapitated her, placed her head on a shelf in his room, and screamed at it, reenacting years of verbal abuse in his own twisted way. Later that same night, one of his mother's friends came over for dinner. Edmund strangled her as well, stole her car, and fled California. Days later, from a payphone in Colorado, Edmund Kemper called the police and calmly confessed. At first, officers thought it was a prank. Only after connecting missing persons reports did they realize the horrifying truth. Edmund Kemper confessed to murdering 10 people. At trial, he pleaded insanity, but the court found him legally sane. He was convicted of 8 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Today, Edmund Kemper remains incarcerated. His case is studied by psychologists, criminologists, and law enforcement agencies worldwide, not just for the brutality of his crimes, but for how easily he manipulated the system meant to stop him. His story stands as a chilling reminder that intelligence does not equal morality, and that sometimes the most dangerous monsters are the ones who appear calm, polite, and ordinary. Kindly like this video and don't forget to subscribe.